Welcome back, 9 to noon. A slight deviation from Wolves coverage. Exercising demons as we did for most of the first hour. Frustrated by how last night went. An unmitigated disaster, really, for the most part. While also trying to put in perspective a very successful season. But this season hasn't even gotten underway yet. The Minnesota Vikings, OTAs. That's what we're looking at with the purple. And everyone's wondering what the quarterback's looking like, all of those things. I got some audio for you, Charge, but I'm going to start. Many comments from Jordan Addison, including JJ McCarthy, what the QBs are doing, all of that. But first, Jordan Addison, rookie wide receiver a year ago. Talk about a successful rookie campaign. I think Jordan looked pretty good at times, had to be, with the extended absence of Justin Jefferson. But here he is, year two, talking about his growth.
Having a plan once I get to the line, being decisive, and just really making sure that I'm locked in on my releases. So that's just been my main focus, and I feel like it's going well so far.
Vikes Bites!
Interesting that he's talking about Lockett getting into his releases, because I thought separation was one of the things he did best as a rookie for Jordan Addison, and came in as that being one of his strong skills anyway. But I guess you can still work on it. You can still get better. That's such a big part for every receiver. And when you can clear 2-3 yards of space, that catch that's coming your way gets a lot easier.
Well, I think what was interesting about this next bit on it as well is he's talking about his focus getting up to the line, what goes into creating that separation.
I'll just say last year I wasn't as confident in my releases. I wasn't being decisive. I didn't have no plan when I was coming up to the line. I was kind of just freelancing, trying to do what I could do, make something work. But now, like I said, it's my focus.
So it kind of sounds like, take his words and then combine it with what you actually saw, and there were many positive things about it. But he's almost kind of saying, last year, guys, I went out there and just tried to be the talented kid that I was at USC and Pitt before that. Now it's like, oh, yeah, those guys on the other side of the ball are pretty damn good, too. So now when I get up to the line, I got to have a plan. Maybe throughout the week, I know that I'm facing Patrick Surtain and I have to do something in a certain way. I'm facing this corner, busted screen door, who I don't believe is in the league.
Not in the league anymore. I think he's in jail now.
I think he might have some significant legal issues that are now more important than letting opposing wide receivers get loose, as he did during his time in the league. But having a plan, maybe that's part of the growth process.
How did Jordan Addison not have a plan last year? I mean, sure, you're rookie, but shouldn't the coaches be working with you so when you line up, you're not freelancing? That was his word. He's up there freelancing.
Well, I think freelancing in what respect? So ultimately, if you're running a route and it's a timing-based system, you got to be there when you're supposed to be, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to completely plot out how you get there. So is he punching a guy? Is there a certain type of move? That's what Jordan Addison is working on, and in the end, he just believes that they're playmakers and they're going to make life easy on QBs.
Well, we playmakers out there, so I don't feel like it's that hard for us. We go out there, we get open, so that take all the pressure off the quarterback there. But it also start in the building too, in the locker room, outside of football. So we doing our thing though. We doing our thing for sure.
They're doing their thing. If they're buddies off the field, maybe they're buddies on the field. And more from Jordan Addison. Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef, elite grass-fed beef products. And you can find it on the website, thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. You can find them at your local co-op, your local Coburn's locations. Shop online. A box of meat shows up at your doorstep. That's pretty cool. And thank you, Thousand Hills. But here,
way better than 999 Hills, too, from my understanding.
Well, and that's the key. Now, it's 8-minute abs, 7-minute abs. I mean,
right.
But it's all about innovation. And when it comes to innovation, Thousand Hills in the beef game, as good as it gets. Jordan Addison working with the QBs.
It's been real good, way better than I expected. They out there playing with a lot of confidence. Sam, Nick, JJ too. They all anticipate. They all look good. So I'm confident with whoever they throw out there.
Well, what about Jaron Hall though?
Right. What about Jaron Hall in this conversation?
Hey, just in no reason to beat I guess the dead horse, as they say. Remember how unprepared Jaron Hall was in New Year's Eve, the game against the Packers?
And to bench him at half.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a bad half.
Just brutal. And now you go, and I know this is a business and all of that. You feel it all for Jaron. You get him as a flyer in the 5th round. They're playing out the string with this Kirk conundrum. Kirk goes elsewhere. He wants a chance to resurrect and maybe compete and be in the NFL for an extended period of time. They put him in 2 spots where one he ends with a concussion, which then the Josh Dobbs era began in Atlanta. And then it's like, okay, well, let's try it again. And he just gets absolutely worked in the border battle at the
destroyed
bank
in that game.
Prime time. The bright light's a little too bright. Jordan Addison says that each QB, they're a little different.
It's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, we get paid to catch the ball, so we got to catch it. But some people got a little softer touch. Some people can throw it a little bit, but at the end of the day, we get paid to catch the ball.
That's one thing, as I don't know if you've been following, how closely you've been following OTAs, Charch, because we've all just been really captivated by the howl,
right?
But that's been one of the talkers is McCarthy just absolutely has a rocket for an arm, and at least he's been showing it off thus far in OTAs. Here's Addison on McCarthy.
JJ been playing really well, playing with confidence, anticipating throws, making mistakes, but learning from them. So he got a bright future.
Where have you sat in all of this as OTAs are now, in terms of the conversation of, what are things you want to hear about, that you want to see from JJ McCarthy as these things unfold? There's this, not ambiguous, but kind of this, it's mysterious and unknown what this growth process or this development plan looks like from Kevin O'Connell's standpoint, and bringing JJ up and getting him ready to eventually start a lot of games for the Purple. But what does that mean then? Is it footwork? Is it tight throws? Is it windows? Is it fewer mistakes like you hear Jordan Addison referencing? Like what's in your head as it pertains to JJ McCarthy at this moment?
Heading into training camp for JJ McCarthy, I want to see if he can make reads. I want to see him find open receivers. I want to see his head on a swivel. A lot of things he didn't have to do a lot of at Michigan. I want to see if he can read an NFL defense. Can he be under center? Does he have the footwork to drop back, make a read, third read's my guy, and deliver? And I'm not worried about arm strength. I'm worried about how quickly JJ McCarthy can start to understand ways to beat an NFL defense.
Okay.
And he's not going to fail on arm strength. He'll fail on other things. It ain't going to be that. So I want to see what's inside the helmet for JJ McCarthy when we get into training camp. I think it's hard to pick that stuff up in OTAs, mini camps. We'll get a much better read on where JJ McCarthy is when we get to training camp. Again, and I think everybody's on the same page. Sam Darnold's our starter, week 1. But I'll be fascinated to see how big that gulf is as training camp goes on, as preseason games start to go. How big is the differential between McCarthy and Darnold, and how long is that runway? PA thinks the runway is the whole year. Yeah. I'm not as confident yet that it's going to be a full year for Sam Darnold, who by all accounts has looked good in mini camp, but we put very little weight into those observations.
Sam Darnold's looked really good in mini camps before.
He has, right? Yeah. That's not the first time that narrative's been told.
I don't think I guess, and I hate to speak for PA as he sits where you are right now, and we talk to each other all day, every day. Was he guaranteeing that Darnold would absolutely play the entire season? I think that's predicated on things going well with Darnold, and then just the ability to be patient. There are, I hate to use hyperbole, the catastrophic circumstances that would thrust him into a spot.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound distracted, but somebody just texted in 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line. Feel free to text talkbacks with the free iHeartRadio app as well. But I always get this when we talk about Vikings. What's up with Lewis Cine? Lewis Cine's not good. There it is. So we know who our safeties are, and Lewis Cine is, at this point, I believe, into year 3, fighting for a spot on the roster. Continuing with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
I love how deep this kind of thing goes with Kevin O'Connell, and offenses. This is not unique to the Vikings, but watching film and people, I've read things like McCarthy did do a ton under center, so that's something that he was adept with the Wolverines offense.
Yeah.
But it was like his dropbacks were more like 2, 4, 6-step drops. While typically in the NFL, you're training 3, 5, 7-step drops.
Yep.
So, like, part of that process, fixing the footwork and going evens to odds, like that type of minutia, which is very difficult, I think, in whether you're watching these practices and any tidbits that you can, morsels to feed on during OTAs and minicamp. It's like, okay, so that's the biggest growth process. It's like he's going from evens to odds. How can I see that is working? What does that mean? Well, timing offense and everything that goes into it, the complexities of it. It's very interesting.
I want to talk about. Well, we're discussing JJ McCarthy and his timeline. Can we talk about the conspiracy theory around why the runway is so long?
Hold on. I don't have any tinfoil in the studio.
Maybe you should get some.
I'm going to call Manis right now. I'm up for this.
I've heard this mentioned by others. I've never heard it on the airwaves here.
Is this a 4chan thing?
No.
Okay. Reddit?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I'm just assuming. Don't know.
I don't go on Reddit.
KOC, I think it's safe to say most people believe Kevin O'Connell is a good coach who's going to be here a long time. Kwesi, totally different story. Many people believe, including me, this is a make or break year for Kwesi. You can't have his past 2 off seasons with the drafting, the free agents that haven't worked out, and then have a third one go as badly. Now, we don't think it will. We hope it won't.
May I ask if there is criteria associated with that where it's like make or break year for Kwesi based on the win-loss record or
the development of the players he's brought in? The development and productivity of the players he's brought in. If JJ never plays, that gives Kwesi another year.
Okay.
Right? Because nobody will be able to say, well, JJ didn't work out. You blew that pick.
Yep.
If JJ plays and looks terrible, that's not good for Kwesi's job prospects. So this is the conspiracy theorists are suggesting the long runway. If JJ doesn't play it down all season long, Kwesi gets another year to prove himself right on the JJ McCarthy selection. And that could be playing into the long runway that everybody's talking about for JJ McCarthy. Now, I don't know if there's any fact to that at all. I'm calling it a conspiracy theory, but there are people who've brought that theory up, and it's not completely without merit.
Well, I don't think it's completely without merit because you're simply just acknowledging the idea of self-preservation. So things, if Kwesi, if you pinned him down, he actually would not say this, but you could look in his eyes and you could see him acknowledge that the 2022 draft was absolutely abysmal. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're talking about Lewis Seen fighting for a roster spot, Andrew Booth Jr. fighting for a roster spot, Ed Ingram into year 3. He's made all the dances. Can he start making that growth, showing that growth that we need from our right guard, et cetera? But he has also now in the last 4 months, I think some redemption tour acknowledgement needs to take place as well, where he frees up cap space in future years. On paper, it looks like he did a terrific job, kind of in some ways budget shopping via free agency.
Yeah.
You have to be, if you love Dallas Turner and you believe he was the best pass rusher in this draft, you have to acknowledge that despite all those picks being given up,
a lot of picks, if the draft capital is very real.
If the Vikings had stayed at 42 and they want to move up for Dallas Turner, you have to give up next year's 1 to do it. You're not jumping from 42 to 17 to get Dallas Turner.
Correct.
You find yourself at 23, creating that flexibility that they had talked about into the draft. They're able to, with some day 2 picks, move up and get Dallas Turner. They do have next year's first. It is time for these players to start showing themselves on the field. I don't know how conscious Kwesi is of what the level of self-awareness is in terms of how he's perceived. I'm sure that interior-wise, he has plenty of meetings.
He's got to know, right?
He's on the calls and emails and what that conversation looks like. But I do think that part of this, on the other end of it, regardless of who they were picking, save for Caleb Williams, that as deep as this it basically a 6 quarterback draft. Those 6 in the top 12, and then what? It was 150 picks or something before Spencer Rattler went in like the 4th or the 5th round. Just some crazy wait time between the Knicks and the next guy. These, save for Caleb Williams, I've always kind of looked like there wasn't going to be 4 or 5 bona fide day one killers at that spot, that there was development, that there was seasoning required. And I think that went into the pick, into the draft. So therefore, some of this, regardless of what you think of Kwesi, was going to be part of the equation. I generally, just human nature, believe that there is self-preservation. I think there's a lot of self-preservation for NFL GM jobs. There's 32 in the world. You get most GMs get one shot and only one chance. Unlike head coaches, they get recycled a fair amount. And even if you get fired from a head coach, you become a defensive coordinator, something like that, like Mike Zimmer, defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, Eric Kendricks loves him again, by the way.
Yeah, they're great friends.
Yes.
Nobody's friends with Zim.
I think
Zim would never have friends as players.
I think Zimmer's the pain in the ass that you can't help but love.
Yeah, maybe.
While watching.
But you're not going to hang with Zim.
I'd hang with Zim.
Not as a player. I don't think he'd hang with his players. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, well,
maybe I'm wrong.
And I obviously am never going to hang out with Zimmer, but I'd love to hear football stories. Like, I'd love for him to be in a spot where he's not coaching me. I mean, that doesn't seem very enjoyable from my standpoint.
No.
But no, so how about this? Looking at it like this. Yes, certain amount of self-preservation. How much of this is potentially self-preservation for the head coach? Because terrific 2022, setback in 2023, got to figure out how to run the ball. We all love Kevin O'Connell. However, how often is it that even if a GM goes elsewhere, that the head coach is preserved? So he's young enough. I would actually say Kevin O'Connell probably would be one of those guys that might get a second opportunity. But in the same sense, second year doesn't go well. This year, if we're talking talent, we're talking regroup, all of those things. What does this year look like?
I think this organization inside of TCO loves Kevin O'Connell.
I think they absolutely love him.
And that 100% lengthens. We keep using the term runway today. Lengthens the runway.
Yeah.
that Kevin O'Connell's got if this team has problems like it did last year. Without Kirk Cousins, your starting quarterback gone. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt for a long time. Kevin's going to be here a long time. Let me mention this, and as we wrap this discussion, Dallas Turner, the totality of what it took to land Dallas Turner. And I think we mentioned it shortly after the draft, but let me mention it again. Because it's a lot, and I love the move because we've had years of trading down, and trying to turn lemons into lemonade with 6th rounders and 7th rounders. But
a lot of
the totality is staggering.
To what
it took to get Dallas Turner. It took this year's second, next year's second rounder, next year's third rounder, next year's 4th rounder, this year's 5th rounder, this year's 6th rounder, and we got back a 7th rounder this year, and we had to do the first round swap with Jacksonville.
Right.
We had to give up our first rounder for their first rounder to go get Dallas Turner. So it was a heavy price paid. Dallas Turner right now, betting odds favorite to be Defensive Rookie of the Year.
And that's why in the end, super ugly on paper. But you mentioned, however long this runway is. A lot of modern planes, by the way, they can take off on a short runway. So let's give them a chance here.
Jump jet.
But the fact remains, if he's Defensive Rookie of the Year and he's consummate pass rushing stud to the point where we're having money conversations about Dallas Turner and how much he's going to garner and what we need to do to keep him in purple and gold a few years from now, no one's going to care about those day 2 picks. And with the maneuvering to get up again from 42 to 23, the one pick he was able to save is his first rounder in 2025.
Yep. That people are ready to give that up.
Well, it was just assumed that they were going to get up to 3 or 4. Drake May, this, and next year's first was gone. So I've been very critical at times of Kwesi. The personnel situation hasn't been good enough via the draft. Mm-hmm. If he aces it, and maybe it is self-preservation, I still think it's a development thing first and foremost with JJ McCarthy, because maybe in the vein of self-preservation, when they're going to put this 10th overall pick out there, he better bleeping well be ready. But maybe the conspiracy theory, maybe there are always some half-truths. These, we were talking about Lieber on yesterday. A lot of conspiracy theories in this world that sometimes they come true. Maybe this is ultimately one that is at least half true. But in the end, Dallas Turner, be good. JJ McCarthy, eventually be good. And Kwesi will certainly have a positive perception, I believe, among Purple faithful.
Let's. Why don't we get some talkbacks in? Let's go back to the Wolves.
Well, I do have some. If it's okay with you, next segment it's a shorty. Mm-hmm. I actually have some Christian Darrisaw audio.
Oh, okay.
Because Dalton Reisner's back in the mix. Wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'm glad to get him back.
And I would love talkbacks though. To your point about the Wolves, kind of in memoriam, what'd you see yesterday versus how do you weigh out the entire season? The talkback function on the free iHeartRadio app. I got a few ready to roll, and I'd love some more.
Yep. You can also text into the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. You can also use the email booth at KFAN.com.
Yeah.
Also available
multiple ways you can tweet.
You can
send faxes. Actually,
we fax, we Morse code, we smoke signal. How is your Morse code? You up to speed on your dots and dashes?
No, I'm not.
No. All of that a possibility. If you want to respond to last night's game or post-mortem of the entire season, of which we will do a deep dive with Dave Sinekin in the Zone host, will join us at 11 o'clock. So that's getting close as well. Dave Sinekin lurking. He will be in studio. So lots more Wolves really between now and the 12 o'clock hour here on The Feast.
Welcome back once again, 9 to noon. More Vikes Bites for you. More Vikes Bites! And thanks again for the talkbacks, Wolves-related text messages. That's going to drive a significant portion of the Friday Feast moving forward. Mm-hmm. Paul Charchian in for PA, and I'm scrambling to reacquire the audio. There we go. Here we go. Christian Darrisaw, left tackle, Minnesota Vikings. A couple of comments from OTAs. This one specific on Dalton Reisner.
Excited, man. It's kind of what I've been waiting for all off season, but I was hoping it would happen. There was no sense, but it's part of the process. He was a free agent, so he had to weigh everything out for himself, and I'm glad he's back now.
One more from him.
Him coming in middle way through the season, and us having that chemistry. It felt like already. I love playing next to him, and we'll see what happens.
Dalton Reisner, I don't know what took so long. I don't know why it always goes this way with Dalton Reisner.
Yeah, it's 2 years.
Why does nobody else want him? Why does he have to wait until midsummer to get signed every time? I don't get it.
What if he's just an odd duck? What if he's just weird?
Maybe.
Is it okay to be weird?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it, though. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know him. We don't hang.
Yeah.
But I usually, if you are a functional NFL player, teams line up at the opportunity to get you in free agency. Dalton Reisner's been good, not great. He's been better than what we've seen from any other guard on this roster.
Yep.
So why did we risk 31 other teams taking Dalton Reisner away? Why did we have to wait this long? I assume the only thing that is probable is that he was asking for too much money. Either too much in the eyes of what we thought he was worth, or too much what the Vikings could afford. And eventually, over the course of time, his asking price goes down as training camps start getting closer and closer, and Reisner's willing to agree to the terms that he did.
Yeah, I just wonder, when PA was here on Wednesday, and then news breaks, and then Lieber's in studio yesterday with me, and kind of the common theme, I mean, how often... Is there anything attached to Dalton Reisner when you're an agent or you're a team, you're a front office, and you're talking about, because people have to weigh certain things, right? Character issues, off-field things. By all accounts, Dalton Reisner is not having issues off the field. Every time I've been exposed to him via interviews with PA and a couple of times at the facility, Dalton Reisner is just a really bright
guy,
positive dude. And I don't know, the intricacies of dynamics in the locker room are well beyond me. There are a lot of, Lieber put it yesterday. He's played with and shared locker room space with people who are amazing. He's shared locker room space with people that are legitimately bad human beings. Mm-hmm. That these are not people that you want around. But they play a sport. They happen to be one of the best at it, so you work through it. With Dalton, I just still wonder what happened to the point where the Broncos were so apt and so willing.
Yeah.
They just voluntarily moved
gave
on.
up on him.
He was never an option for them. They immediately pursued, I think it was Ben Powers of the Ravens, and they signed him to a free agent contract. Could they have spent even a little bit less to keep with Dalton Risner? The world will never know. He moves on, has to wait until the season. So something's weird there. And then he shows up here. And by all accounts, he appears like a super likable guy. Pretty damn good in pass protection as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is going to be awfully important. Whether it's Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy, they're not going to read a defense as fast as Kirk Cousins did. And as accurately as Kirk Cousins did, they need time in the pocket. Now, the Vikings offensive line, pass protection, way better last year.
Yeah.
So much better than at any other point of Kirk's career. Really a tragedy that Kirk didn't get to get a full season behind the first functional offensive line of his entire career here. Now, Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy get the luxury of playing behind Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, Dalton Risner. Garrett Bradbury, who's at least elevated his pass protection game to, I think, an NFL average level. And Ed Ingram was non-awful. We'll take that. I mean, that's about as good as you can ask in today's world for offensive linemen.
See, I've heard mixed kind of messages on Ed Ingram. Where did he regress year 2? I don't think so. Did he make a jump that you want from a second round pick year 1 to year 2? I also kind of don't think so. But Lieber, I'll say, kind of talking through it yesterday, he's kind of got this in my head. It's a 1-year deal for Risner. So getting back to
1 year, yes.
I think he fired his agent in the course of this process as well. So
might be smart.
So I think you're onto something in terms of, you saw, I think it was Jonah Jackson. Somebody got like a 3-year, $50 million deal on a re-up to play guard for the Rams. $20 million or so was at Glasgow with the Lions. Like, you were looking at guard contracts. Even Ezra Cleveland got 3 and 30-ish, like 29 and a half, to stay with the Jags. So what exactly was Dalton Risner asking for? So is that part of the conversation?
Probably. And you're right. He did switch agents to Drew Rosenhaus.
Yes.
Super agent Drew Rosenhaus, who represents several Vikings that are under contract. And maybe that ultimately led to him getting this job, but he changed agents 2 months ago.
Correct.
And it took this long.
So 1 year, and initial reports, without seeing all the fine details, whether it was Rap Sheet or Schefter, I forget. One of them mentioned that this is an incentive-laden bit, that it could be per game started and just kind of time served type of situation. So this isn't even hey, we're going to give you 1 year and $14 million, and we're going to try and figure something more long-term out. We're cap strapped because we're still dealing with the JJ contract situation, Justin Jefferson. No, this sounds like it's kind of a prove it, which doesn't necessarily eliminate the idea of him actually competing with Blake Brandel for that left tackle spot.
Yeah.
Because the A topic for me is pass protection was better, and we want to keep JJ McCarthy upright. We want to keep Sam Darnold upright. I want to run the freaking ball charge. Okay, so
nice?
as much as we love Kevin O'Connell, as we enter year 3 and we're talking about self-preservation and development, all the roads we were going last segment, how about the head coach figures out the run game?
Yeah.
Specifically, whether it's Sam Darnold and eventually JJ McCarthy, figuring out the run game. In my opinion, just adding Aaron Jones doesn't say it's fixed.
Well, because
so
Aaron Jones, he's a really good running back, and he's our best pass-catching running back we've had under Kevin O'Connell.
Better than Dalvin even?
Yes, but he's always dealing with nagging injuries. And when we were at the draft and I'm standing next to Aaron Jones, that dude
was on crutches?
That dude is slight of build. I mean, he is thin, he's wiry, he plays way bigger than his physical size. You can't workhorse Aaron Jones. Packers never did, and even when you try to get him up to like 14, 15, 16 touches a game, he starts getting hurt. So you got to be super cautious about how much you use Aaron Jones so that he's not hobbled through your whole season.
Right.
And, that means Ty Chandler is going to have more reps this year than he did last year. And hopefully he can make better use of the reps that he does get. But we don't have a workhorse back on this roster right now.
No, we don't.
No.
But also from, third and short situations have been troublesome for this team. We watched a team that was so lacking confidence in running the ball. The 2 QB sneaks in a row at Cincy. If you remember that.
Oh, jeez.
We got Brandon Powell trying to offer the shove. And so that for me, the top level conversation is, of course, hit pick 10, make JJ McCarthy a star. B topic for this offense in the long term is figure out how to run the ball. Reisner sounds maybe that's a competing spot at left guard with Blake Brandel, who got, for a backup swing guy, 3 and 9 is not a bad deal for a Blake Brandel.
Speaking of guys that we talked to at the Vikings draft party, Everson Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
So likable. There's so many things we love about Everson. The big personality, the big heart. The other players like him.
Struggling, man. Can't get out of his own way.
Arrested for DWI yesterday, right? And maybe it was night before last. I'm really hoping he can make great decisions. I got to believe when you're in the spot he's in, alcohol or any other substance should not be entering Everson's body right now. I think, recreational substances. He probably does need medication of some kind to help him deal with the bipolar disorder that he's talked about openly. But sad to see that happen. Rooting for Everson.
Rooting, absolutely.
Hopefully he can, he's putting himself in a position to get better and be better than what this DWI would indicate.
Yeah, I just, when he was in the league, we had 2 different occasions where there were some incidents that, some tough stuff, moments off the field. And that was when he was still in the league with, I would say,
the support system of the league,
accessible resources to potentially prop a guy up, help a guy out, and stick with the guy. What does that look like now that he's no longer in the mix? But yeah, absolutely rooting for Everson Griffin. Sad news there.
Yeah.
Sad way to end a segment, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but that is Vikes Bites brought to you by Thousand Hills.
And thank you, Thousand Hills. Let's turn back to Wolves. Between now and the top of the hour, next segment, I'd like to hear your talkbacks. If you go to the iHeartRadio app, go to the KFAN channel, you can hit the talkback button and give us your thoughts on the game, the full season. Also, you can text in the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. Are we taking calls? The show never takes calls,
text
but
and
I
talkbacks.
can.
If you want to, you know what? 800-320-5326. If you want to take calls, I will screen them.
Okay, I would appreciate it. Let's do it. I mean, PA generally does not take calls.
We've kind of gone the way of texts and talkbacks, yeah.
Yes, but all of those various channels, I would like to have a conversation with somebody. I don't pretend to be a basketball expert. I'm watching it just like fans are watching basketball. I can get smarter by your thoughts on this. 1-800-320-5326.
People have been asking us to get smarter 9 to noon for a number of years now.
That's right. We're going to do it starting.
We're happy to learn.
Starting the very next segment.
Hey guys, Ralph from St. Michael here. Hey, all you people that were down on Karl Anthony Towns and asked him to show up in Game 4, he showed up. You asked him to show up in Game 5, he showed up. The problem is he's the only one who did, besides Edwards, okay? You guys talk about trading him and how ridiculous it is and blah, blah. He is who he is, man. We've had him for 8 years. 8 years, you know that. So, I don't know what we're going to do with the rest of the team, but you better keep him. That's my take. Thanks, guys.
Charge, I couldn't agree more. I've been saying this for all season going back to last. Finch is getting out-coached. Last year's playoffs, up over 20 twice and lose. This year, very questionable matchups. Just saying.
And we like Chris Finch, and I want Chris Finch to succeed. I think he seems like a legitimately great person. I think he's a stand-up guy. Comes on this show weekly for much of the season, good and bad. We love Chris Finch. There are parts of what went down through this playoff series that I didn't like, and we get the right to disagree with his decisions, and that's the way it works. We highlighted some of those earlier in the show. I want to take. I promised to take a couple of calls, and I do want to work in a few. I haven't taken calls in so long. It's almost foreign right now.
Well, I was looking at our songs, and I'm trying to remember what we used to play.
What did we play? Hi, John.
Hey.
What's on your mind?
Good afternoon. Just as a lifelong Minnesota fan who has not seen any victory since 1991,
right?
Endured a lot of painful memories. So I guess I want to ask, like Minnesota fans, which one is the more painful memory? Adrian Peterson's fumble just before halftime in the 2009 championship game, or Anthony Edwards' turnover at the end of Game 2 in the Western Conference Final.
Thank you, John.
And I'll hang up and listen.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's tough times.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough times. I understand.
That Adrian one, though.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah. Of the 9 straight losses the Minnesota sports fans have taken in championship series or championship games.
Yeah, 09's the worst.
09's.
But I would also say it's incomparable from the single game moments versus we're gonna nitpick this series that we just endured with timeouts and not timeouts in good spots. Turnovers, as you heard there, guys not showing up.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to weigh a 5 or more game series versus.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a different beast, right?
Yeah, 09.
Yeah. Hi, Monty.
My God.
Hey, how you guys doing, Charge? How you doing?
Well, I've been better, honestly. I mean, this is, it's not the way I wanted to wake up to a blowout loss in the end of a season. So, not great.
I know, Charles, but you know what? I'm here to have some positive outlook a little bit, and I know Minnesota fans, we don't want to hear anything positive, but I'm going to give a couple positive takes. How does that sound, Charles?
That would be awesome. Thank you.
So I think one thing we can hang our hats on is that I think we finally have a foundational team, a team that we can look forward to seeing in the playoffs again.
Yep.
I like Finch. I done heard a couple people say, Finch is the problem, but when I look at this series, I just seen that we ran into a better team, and
yep.
We just ran into Luka, man, and we ran into him. We tried almost everything. It looks like Finch to stop him, and it is what it is. It almost sucks, in my opinion, that this fan base didn't get a win here. I think that bothers me the most.
Yeah,
this fan base is crazy. The Twins, all of our sports teams, we support our teams so hard. It was just very disappointing to see us not get a win for this fan base at home. And I'm gonna end with this. I think what we need to do, and I think the first order of business this offseason should be, we need a point guard, a younger point guard.
Mm-hmm.
We will be making a mistake thinking that Mike Conley can do this again all next year with all these minutes. So I think that's the first order of business. And then lastly, before I hang up, the problem with us this series, we were the easiest team to play defense on. When you only got one guy in Edwards that can microwave some offense up, it was just too easy of offense to stop. So it would be nice to see maybe DeMar DeRozan come in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the situation, but we need somebody that can help Ant out in the backcourt and that can get his spots. I'm going to shut up and hang up and listen. I love you guys. Thank you. But let's keep our heads up. We got more to look forward to. Thank you, guys.
Great call. I think all salient point, I don't think there's a way we get DeRozan on this roster. We can't afford it. We don't have the money, and I don't know how we'd manage that. But I think he raises a great point. Mike Conley played 30 minutes per game last year.
Yep.
That's a lot of minutes when you're
36, 37.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And while we love all the intangibles, the leadership, everything else, man, would it be nice to not have the gulf at point guard that there is between Connolly and J-Mac.
We need a point guard of the future. Totally agree with that.
Ideally, yes.
Now, to Monty's point,
and somebody
though,
who can score.
Yeah.
I want a scoring point guard.
And that's where I was going, is I've seen some things like Darius Garland, the Cavs. I don't know, has he played a fully healthy season yet? But all the same, he's an instant offense type of guy. I love that. Microwave up some offense. I'm with Monty on it, but that goes back to the conversation of your 1 and 2, right? That's what you're trying to produce, and I don't believe that Cat is a championship 2 in terms of a tandem, in terms of a pair.
Yeah.
But you can win a ton of games with Cat. Cat's valuable. Cat has value specifically on this team. So is it a younger guard that is a replacement option as the minutes wane for Conley? Is it actually you are going into that kind of Darius Garland style conversation? But if you go and get one of those guys, because if you're making moves to improve this team, you're not getting picks in return. You're getting bodies that can contribute now. Well, now we're talking about trading Karl Anthony Towns. So you're either winding your way this summer to a guy that is a significant upgrade over Jordan McLaughlin, or if we are talking about somebody that can drum up offense in a hurry at a high level, you're talking about trading Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah. And I got to wonder how many teams want Karl Anthony Towns and would give up requisite value to get him. It'd be a tough move. And
I got to wrap my head around that. I'm not ready
advocating
to have that
moving
conversation.
Towns, by the way.
I'm not ready to even.
I'm not there
to see what that looks like and how you get around it.
I might feel differently later, but I'm not there yet. Knowing our time situation, and we've got Dave Sinekin lurking. Do you want to take another call here?
Why don't you take one more call, and then we'll head to break.
Let's do it. Thomas, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, a little gloomy today. I guess weather's matching the emotions, but
correct.
I think this year it's going to be a really pivotal offseason. It's like you guys are talking about trading Karl Anthony Towns, but it's like I think the most exposed person in this series was Rudy Gobert by far.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if Cat struggled the first 3 games, like I get that, but he did show up, obviously 4 and 5. And when you have Rudy on the floor, it's like he's getting exposed left and right with these switch offs with, Luka, and it's just like it was a repeated process. They're running the same plays over and over. Drive it to the hoop, alley-oop, kick out to the 3. It's like we couldn't stop what we seen was coming, and I feel like that's a coaching problem, me personally, but I guess like referring to what you said earlier, I think we need a number 2, a true number 2. Like I would put Towns more of a 3, like kind of a Chris Bosh to like a LeBron and Wade, I'm not going to say he's a true number 2, but we do need a number 2 scorer to help Ant out in microwave. Yeah, when things are not going so good for him, we need somebody to take that off,
Yep, thank you, Thomas.
So I'll leave it with that. Yep. You guys kind of comment.
Thank you. Rudy got exposed in this series. I thought he played well in the Denver series. His total, I think, if I recall correctly, Gobert was plus 111
in the first 2 series.
Yep. So a lot of it's matchup based, but Rudy was a liability most of the time when he was on the court through this entire series.
He was.
Offense dried up. Defense did not work.
But I want to know. Yeah. I want to know how much of that is Rudy not being able to execute versus what the plan was. Over the course of this series, we saw zone. We saw him playing high. We saw drop coverage. I ultimately need to know. And let's pause and bring Cine in as we continue eulogizing the 2023-24 Wolves. And maybe we can talk to him about that chart where, are we just going to really dagger Rudy here, or are we going to try to figure out maybe there was a general 10,000-foot view schematic problem with how to use Rudy in this series in which we anticipated a hell of a lot bigger contribution from the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year than we got.
Dave Sinekin is the host of In the Zone with Trent Tucker every Saturday morning. He joins in studio in moments.